What is the offensive identity for this team? Last year, at least I felt like I knew what your identity was. You weren't going to be able to run the football effectively in big games against tough opponents. You were going to be able to throw the ball all over the place if you needed to. You were going to turn the ball over in critical situations when you did not need to. But you were going to try to be explosive and get down the field and be vertical. And that was something that for sure that we knew the identity of this offense was a season ago. The question that I had and asked myself all offseason was that when you have guys at wide receiver going into the season of 2025, I thought that the game plan or what you were going to try to do to teams was definitely get vertical a lot. Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, Barrion Brown, Nick Anderson showed at Oklahoma that he definitely can be vertical, and Tre'Davious Green. I thought that you were going to be a little bit more explosive than what you've shown from a vertical passing standpoint. Now, everything that we know we will get to. But the question that I ask myself right now is that everything that we thought that we knew, is that the case? Now, I do think against Louisiana Tech, there were times where you did try to get vertical. Barrion Brown had a quote-unquote drop, and I'm not getting that discussion with all of y'all again here on what we consider a drop is or isn't. But the deep drag route to Barrion Brown that was quote-unquote dropped or missed, the deep over route from Barrion Brown in the first half that's sailed and behind Barrion Brown and he can't make the catch. The fade route to Barrion Brown that was massively overthrown and if placed in the right direction probably could have been 6. I think that there are and have been moments and times that you've tried it that it hasn't worked. Now, you did against Clemson. You just didn't get the ultimate points and results that you wanted it. But I don't know if, quite frankly, you are doing it enough, at least doing it enough to the playmakers that you possibly have. Now, the question that I will ask here tonight is Xavier Thomas got a role and have a role in this offense? Without a doubt, he does. Without a doubt, he does. And I understand that you don't want to take Barrion Brown. You don't want to take Aaron Anderson off the field, but you want to utilize Xavier Thomas. And you keep putting him out at X, meaning the X far boundary receiver. Now, I don't know if that's to his strengths. But one thing is for sure, whether you think they're dropping the ball, whether you think it's play calling, or whether Garrett has not been able to throw the ball accurately enough and pushing the ball down the field, which, guys, quite honestly, against Louisiana Tech, he couldn't do it effectively. He just, quite honestly, was not effective at doing it. I don't know what the issue was, but there was a problem and a lot of throws that you missed. I think you're searching for what your identity is. The good thing in searching for your identity for this offense, you have been able to win 2 games. You've been able to go to Clemson and beat them, which I don't care that Clemson beat Troy and had to come back to beat them. I don't really care about that. Let the season play it out, and we'll find out how good or bad they are. We won't really think about that Troy game in a big light other than a positive for Clemson if they go and win the ACC again. It'll be a moot point. But what I do think is that, yes, you focus so much on Clemson and you had a letdown. But it doesn't mean that you don't have it in you. Doesn't mean that you can't be flat. Doesn't mean that you can't offensively not be in the same connection that you need to be. I do think that you've tried to find an identity of one thing, and that is balance. Brian Kelly talked about that a lot before the season. He talked about it a lot in week 1. He talked a lot about it in week 2, and he's talked about it today on Monday. We are trying to find the best amount of balance for the run game and getting Garrett the ball down the field. Sounds great. Don't disagree with that logic. What happens when you can't stay balanced? You're staying balanced and trying to do some unique things in the run game to try to open things up in the passing game, and you're missing them. There were some throws, I thought, on Saturday. So to lead off and recap of the game. Guys, the God's honest truth is there are some throws that I know that Garrett today and even on Sunday and probably even during the game is wishing he had back. You got bailed out against Clemson. You got bailed out against Louisiana Tech. And some bad decisions that turned into pass interferences. Like, before we even get to the red zone, we threw 2 fade routes to Trey'Dez Green, which I don't necessarily mind from the slot, but they were still overthrown. They were still really bad passes. And is Trey'Dez Green, even though I think he's electric, is he the person that I want to throw an inside fade route to on the opposite side of the 50? Why wouldn't I try to get that to Aaron? Why wouldn't I try to get that to Barrion Brown? Why wouldn't I try to get that to Xavion? Why wouldn't I try to get that to Chris Hilton? I think that you came into the season saying we are very good on defense. We're not going to do things that beat us offensively early in the season. But, guys, I think that Florida, coming into this week, especially now that they lost against South Florida, now they certainly have something that they have to prove. But the first thing that I open up with is I do think from a play calling standpoint, I think you did take times and moments to try to get vertical. You had drops, one from Xavion, one I guess I'm going to give you. Even though I don't agree with it, I think it was an ill-advised, not ill-advised throw, but a bad throw to Barrion Brown on the third quarter deep drag. Whether it's drops, whether it's bad throws, it doesn't really matter. You're not consistent enough there. And you are not good enough in the running game, whether it is against Clemson or whether it is against Louisiana Tech, to be able to let that carry you when you try to figure some things out throwing the football. Guys, the God's honest truth is, for me, and in no specific order, you tried and you failed. So either you weren't focused, you weren't locked in, you don't have the timing down. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Garrett's just off with timing, but guys, there are bad throws in there. Sure, there are some plays that need to be made. Fine. There's some no disagreement there. I don't think the offensive line was bad enough when you had time to make the throw that you need to make that throw against this opponent. It was a letdown. The run game was a letdown. I know Brian Kelly today said that he thinks it's a challenge to run against a 3-3-5 defense, meaning you have 3 down linemen, an end, a nose, an end, 3 backers, and 2 rovers at safety. He thinks it's difficult for you to do that. I disagree. I just do not agree with that. You had multiple situations where you went 12 personnel. You had multiple situations where you had 6 guys to block 6, 5 offensive linemen and a tight end versus their 6 that's in the box. You had a lot of opportunities to run the football. And, guys, you had the same amount of rushing yards that you did against Southeastern, or that Southeastern had against Louisiana Tech. It's not good enough. Did Louisiana Tech really beat up on in the second half Southeastern? Yeah, but they were tied with them damn near at half. It's 3-0. It's not like any of these issues that you faced in the run game. It's not like any of these issues that you faced in pushing the ball down the field are something that you have not or should have not been working on all season. This is an inferior opponent, and I do think there's times in situations where it's a little lazy to say. Actually, guys, it's very lazy to say sometimes, oh, we just had a letdown. You're coming down off of a massive win. Sounds good. I understand what you're saying in that. It happens to a lot of teams, a lot of places. Hell, look at Georgia. I get it. But it doesn't stop the fact that those things have got to be corrected. If you would have been better in week 1 against a lesser opponent, maybe we'd say, oh, who knows? But, guys, you've scored 40 points. And, again, I give you, it's a really good opponent in week 1. But whether it is the passing game and timing being off or bad throws or bad decisions, or it's the run game that you want to discuss, there are just things that simply got to get cleaned up. What I feel that the narrative here has been with DJ Chester, who I don't think played great at all, but it's all on DJ Chester of why they got pushed around, or it's Weston Davis. Weston Davis in the second half None of it was his fault when you try to go inside zone run to the left side of your offensive line and you get hit at the line of scrimmage. That's not on Weston Davis. This wasn't really on DJ Chester either when you go back and watch it. But, guys, this has been an issue. And I think that you have a couple of weeks where you can and should work some things out. Because there is going to be a week where your defense, just somebody has their number, and the question will be, can you keep up with them? Is it this week? Is it this week? I don't know. I do not know. But when I look at this team, there are three main questions offensively that we have to start asking. Actually, four. Let's start with the offensive line. Braylon Moore is the anchor of your team offensively right now. I think he's just been so good in the game and one play that we've seen, even going back to Virginia Tech, that you pray to God that he's fine, and it was just like, hey, you were trying to do some things. I mean, guys, the truth is they were trying to get him back in the game. And I think that they just made a conscious decision saying, no, let's keep him out. Let's see what his, status is this week. Because it doesn't stop what happened with the other four. DJ Chester didn't have a bad enough game where it should have overall affected everything else in the run game or in the pass game. Situations were bad, and I get it. I'm not excusing him. But you got to be able to find ways to run the football. You must. If he's not getting it done there, then you got to figure that out too. And you might need to figure it out this week. And find somebody that can back up Braylon Moore in case you really need it. Because if you can't and if you don't, then what? But I think you're trying to be way too creative offensively sometimes because you have to be. You can't simply run up and pound the football. So you're doing jet sweeps, you're doing motions, you're doing reverses, and you're doing things with Xavier Thomas, which I understand. I fully understand that you have to be creative because your offensive line just isn't getting the push that it needs to get. And that is fair. And I don't think that that's all on Joe Sloan. Quite frankly, I think he feels like that he's trying to do everything he can to generate a run game. Brad Davidson and this unit has got to figure it out. This is two seasons or a season and 2 games where you just, guys, you ran for 108 and 128. You're dead last in the SEC in rushing right now. And I know Brian Kelly said today, well, we hadn't played an SEC team, so how do we know? Well, we know because you should not be having the same amount of rushing yards that Southeastern had versus Louisiana Tech. You just shouldn't. You shouldn't. So, I don't know the answer. I do think that they have, if we're going to break it down from offensive line, I think that it's been bad technique. I think it's been a lack of aggression. I think it's just been, quite honestly, guys, that they have better players than you do sometimes. And that is unfortunate. But it's more than just that, too. I think that there's moments and times that some of the guys just don't know their responsibilities. I don't think they know their responsibilities on every single down. So when you combine being out physical, not knowing what you need to do, and just quite simply that there's an athlete that's better than you, the other side of the football, it's not going to generate success. I know you've recruited that position well. From a star rating standpoint, you are correct. Either you're not developing well or maybe you missed. Which one is it? But 108 rushing yards versus Clemson is not a great day. It's not a bad day, but it's not a great day. You did enough. Having 128 rushing yards on the amount of attempts, guys, Caden Durham had 13 carries for 38 yards. In what world is that acceptable? It's not. So call it lackadaisical, call it Louisiana Tech just wanted to punch you in the mouth, say that they got a good defense. I don't care. The truth is that I don't think that you know assignments well enough in some of these positions, and I think you're just flat out getting out physicaled. The second point that I would bring up here is this. I think your wide receiver rotation has got to be condensed. I agree with Carter on this. I do not mind at all getting Xavier Thomas touches and looks, but I don't think that he is an X receiver, meaning I don't think he's the far right boundary or far left boundary receiver. You have two of the same players in Aaron Anderson and Xavier Thomas. I think you are limiting yourself in some things that you can do by having him there. I understand that they want him at X because they can motion him, put him in certain situations where they can run the football. That's really fine and well. But the problem that you have in that is, guys, when you've been doing some of these things with Xavier in the backfield, you're running 2 and maybe 3-man routes. On the motion back to Xavier Thomas, you're going play action and you have a 2-man route. Now, it worked against Louisiana Tech. You just missed Barryon Brown. And I understand that the thought process from a play calling standpoint was Garrett's got to make a better throw. I don't disagree with that. But the drop and some of the physicality stuff and some of the run plays that you had when you're motioning him inside or you're putting him inside, guys, you have 2 slot guys on the field at the same time, which I would rather, and I don't care who it is, Nick Anderson and Chris Hilton has got to start getting looks there. I don't like the rotation I'm seeing from Hankton. If they don't know the plays, that's on you. That is on you if you're Cortez Hankton. That wide receiver rotation has got to be condensed. Got to be. And I don't think if you want to put Xavier in the backfield, here's the solution. Put him in the backfield. Put him in the backfield. If you want to put him in the backfield and let him run a route, it's a lot of things for a linebacker and a safety to have to figure out. All right, well, you know what? Against Florida, if he's in the backfield, they just threw him a flare route and he got 7. So actually, they will throw the football with him. And you have an experienced quarterback, or you should have enough of an experienced quarterback that even in pass protection, if he's called upon to do that, Garrett say, hey, see that defensive end right there? He's coming. Or that outside backer right there? He's coming. Or, hey, you see that linebacker right there? Run right at him. He's coming, and protect me for 3 seconds. I think you're strong-arming yourself. I do. I think you're trying to be so balanced that, guys, they know what you're doing. Line him up back there. Having Caden Durham or Jawan Johnson in the game and motion him back and having Jawan Johnson as a glorified fullback, I get what you're trying to do. I get it. You're trying to run the football in creative ways. But I don't think Xavier Thomas, which we should figure this out. I mean, what was Chris Hilton at the end of the season? Last year in this last game, he had 4 catches for 118 yards. Can you get some of these other guys involved? Can you be this is the part where I think, hey, we've been creative, but in the creation, you got to get some playmakers that are out there that have been a receiver and have done this at a high level at the X position. Xavier is a slot guy and always has been. He is a good player. But you limit yourself in what you're doing. Because they knew, literally, Louisiana Tech's head coach on the halftime literally stated that we know, literally on the microphone, we know that 6 is going to go deep on us, and we know that 1 is going to try to get vertical through the middle. They didn't care what Xavier was doing. They didn't care. They did when he went into the backfield, and everybody's going after him in the run game, and it's why Barryon Brown was so open. I get what you're trying to do, but you're going to have to give some guys some other looks. I don't think Kyle Parker has made as many plays in college football as Nick Anderson or Chris Hilton. I had a couple of comments. What has Chris Hilton done? Well, he was your leading wide receiver the last 2 weeks of the season. Last week, you try to be a vertical team without Chris Hilton with two wide receivers that are sub 44-6 guys. And now you want to roll that back for the sanctity of balance. I get what you're trying to do. I understand it. But I don't think the rotation at that X position is one that's worth it. Why not put Xavier in the slot and motion him back from there? I don't know. But I would really love to know what's happening in some of these decisions. I don't. What I would say in reference to the play calling is, why do you have 2 5'8" receivers and one at X and one in the slot? You got to get Chris Hilton and Nick Anderson the football. You need to. I think that you have better overall receivers on the sidelines. I do. Sloan's play calling, let's get to this. The third point. The play calling decisions, I don't think were bad in the sense of there are instances in the passing game specifically where guys, quite honestly, dudes are wide open. I know Preston Guy did some of this today, but I mean, they are wide open. You have some bad throws and some bad decisions. So even though I think that Xavier should not be out there at X, doesn't mean that you didn't miss a lot of things and make wrong decisions. I don't think Sloan has shown anything to get the benefit of the doubt for this to continue to happen. You have not been consistent in the run game. I get it. That's not all on him. Brad Davis is a part of that too. But the pass game and the quarterback development is on you. And missing some of these situations and having some of these situations directly is on you. So I think that they're trying to do so much because they think that they have to do it all themselves. Instead of, hey, we're going to play conservative here. We're just going to throw the ball quickly. We're going to take one deep shot and it hit. But don't throw fade routes to Trey'Dez Green when you have 2 sub 4-2 wide receivers. Like, I get in the red zone trying to get Trey'Dez Green the football, right? I get it. And I think that Trey'Dez should get more touches when it's necessary. But I also think that there's a situation where that you have literally two guys that run a sub 4.2 40, and you're not playing one of them who was your leading receiver the last 2 games of the season. Why? Doesn't know plays? I find it very hard to believe. And you can't throw him out there one play and Garrett make a bad decision on a throw and say, oh, that's all Chris Hilton's fault. You can't do that. Brian Kelly today said that Chris Hilton's got a big role in this team. Where is it? Where is it? We'll see. Something else I don't understand. Why are we going into 13 personnel and spreading the ball out? Meaning, why do we have 3 tight ends on the field and we're going spread? Why? I get you're trying to throw screens and you're trying to get blockers out there. I understand it. Why in the hell are we going 13 personnel and spreading the football out? And then we try to run the football. Why? You're literally – it defeats the purpose of having Donovan Green and Bauer Sharp lined up for you to throw a slant or throw a screen to Juwan Johnson. I don't get that. I think it worked against Clemson. That's creative. That is creative. The diamond formation where you motion out Barryon Brown and you try to hit him on a fade, that's not on Joe Sloan, guys. That should have been 7. But some of these situations, I just don't understand. I feel like you're trying to get Bauer Sharp in the game more. You're trying to get Donovan Green in the game more. You're trying to get all these different people in the game to see what happens. But you don't have time because Florida's here. I don't care they lost to South Florida. I'm going to say it all week. I do not understand that. Last but not least, offensively. When I look at Louisiana Tech and I look at the performance that you had, I've said it a lot of times, I don't think I need to continue to reemphasize. Because I think Garrett did not have a good game at all. I think there were moments and times where he did make some good throws. I thought that there were some moments and times that I wish he would have tried to fight out of a sack or run the football. I don't know if he's hurt, lethargic. I have no idea what's going on. You can't be in his situation and be a second-year starter and have some of the misses that he's having. I think all of us understand that. Then you start asking, well, what did you work on? The Clemson game, you were prepared and ready to go. I felt like this is when I wrap everything in the bow offensively. This is what I ultimately feel like. I think you were prepared from a staff perspective in a lot of regards. I don't think that you were prepared or cared in moments and times offensively. I think that you looked like you had a lack of focus. I think that you just were lollygagging and thought, I could just throw this thing out there. Barryon's going to get it. And they picked you off. The other in route to Barryon Brown, guys that Garrett threw in the SEC gets picked off. It's an exceptional throw. It gets picked off in the SEC. It will get picked off this week. And you know which play I'm talking about if you watch the game. Guys, can you be better? Yes. I don't really think that there's anywhere but up for you offensively. I think when you are in a situation where, ironically, it's so crazy because I feel like you have better personnel at receiver and a better running back rotation for what it's worth. But I don't understand why you were trying to be so aggressive and vertical and throwing the ball all over the place. I get you had a better offensive line with Emory Jones and Will Campbell, and you felt more protected. Maybe that is ultimately the case. Maybe that is the case. Why did you not go in the game and try to throw the ball around? Why are you going 12 and 13 personnel? Why are you not trying to absolutely obliterate them? I felt like you were too conservative. We want to be balanced. Sounds good. When you're not being able to be balanced and you can't run the football on them, stop banging your head up against the wall. Well, Blake Garrett's not having a good day. I don't give a shit. Your defense isn't giving up anything. I felt like you just kept taking your foot off the gas over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. It beats the hell out of me that you try to throw as many fade routes as you did to Kyron Lacy when now you have two sub 4.2 guys and you're not really giving them the chance. Not enough. Guys, if it were me, this is just me. If it were me, like I said on Thursday, guys, I'm coming out throwing the ball all over the place. I'm throwing it all over the place, and then second quarter, guys, basically, I almost said it, but I didn't. I basically said, listen, you can get Caden, or I did say this, you can get Caden Durham some touches, but if you literally have 15 to 20 passing attempts, 18 passing attempts in the first quarter, I don't care. I don't care. Open it wide open because it takes everything off of your run game. So what if you're missing it? So what if you're missing it? I get the Braylon Moore injury significant. I get it. And we're going to talk about after the break what Brian Kelly said. I get it. I get it. I don't understand your identity. And that's the problem that I have with play calling. I think you get too skittish. I think you get too, coach wants to be balanced. I mean, yeah, sure, he wants to be balanced. But if you go in there and you open that thing, he's not telling you not to. You gotta reduce it down. I mean, this feels like in a lot of ways the 2022 season in the first couple of weeks without the running ability from the quarterback position. It's funny, I compared this team to 2022 with a better defense, but it is what it is. I will tell you this too. I haven't harped a lot on Garrett. I just think he missed a lot. You better go out there in Florida and prove it, because this one's on you. You get a mulligan. From me, you're going to get a mulligan. Better show up against Florida. I will get him on this one, though. I don't really think you did a lot of positive things offensively. I think Barryon did a lot of positive things. I don't know if you as a team collectively did a lot of positive things. I said on Saturday night after the show, I felt like Barryon Brown offensively was the only person that was locked the frick in. Garrett's got to run the ball. Because he's bailing on there. I have 4 times when he bails from a pocket where there is no pressure. There's no pressure. And he's bailing. There are times like the Chris Hilton interception in the end, or Chris Hilton incompletion in the end zone, where Chris has got to come from the far hash and knock the ball away, or it's getting picked. Guys, there's a really strong chance that you could have had 2 interceptions in this game. Really strong chance. When he's rolling left and there's nobody 10 yards ahead of him, he's got to go. I understand trying to get Chris Hilton involved. I get it. I get what he's trying to do. Again, I understand the thought and the logic. I understand the thought and the logic. What I don't understand is why you keep looking so sloppy. Why some of the bad decisions aren't made. When you're making good decisions, look what happens against Clemson. We'll see. All right. I spent all that time and didn't talk about the defense. What do you want me to say? That they keep completely dominating people? That the truth of the matter is, guys, I do think that you're okay. I think defensively right now, you should feel on cloud 9 about where you are. You have not lost focus. Blake Baker did everything I thought he should have done. Talked about it on Thursday, keys to victory, send pressure after their ass, take it to their ass. And guys, they did. They forced multiple 3-and-outs. A couple of drives where they hit a long play on you, and then you stopped them, and they punted away. Punt. You don't take – I mean, Ashton Stamps catches the pick. Javian Toviano doesn't blow a coverage because they're not scoring. The last 2 weeks, or really the last 6 quarters, in my humble opinion, you've flat out dominated your opponent defensively. You have been able to stop them in the run game. You have been really good in coverage. Mansour Delane has been a stud. A.J. Halsey's lighting people up. Harold Perkins is all over the place. Patrick Payton's all over the place. The interior defensive line's playing great. The Weeks brothers are playing great. How about this? In the year of 2025 of the year of our Lord, whether it be spring football, fall camp, or whether it be Clemson or whether it be Louisiana Tech, nobody has presented a game plan or have been able to do things against you that show that this defense is not going to be really freaking good and is not really good. You're really good at all 3 levels. I'm going to say something that's a little controversial. This week with Florida is a massive test for you because this team wants to be very physical. They have a very physical running back. They have a very physical attack. They have playmakers at wide receiver. They can get to you sideline to sideline. They can pound the ball on you. And really and truthfully, guys, Jaden Ball wasn't the reason that Florida lost. You have a really, really good challenge ahead of you. DJ Lagway has not looked good the first 2 weeks of the season. Can you make it 3? Because I got to see this defense consistently have a bad day or bad day all day for me to think that you're not a top, I got to say it, top 15 to top 10 defense. And maybe you're not going to be. Maybe you haven't been tested the way that you need to be tested. But, man, name an area where you think that they're not good at minimum.